To be with you, Bishop Strickland. Want to thank you very much for coming out with us yesterday and joining us to pray a little bit of the rosary, to give us some remarks at the Rally for Personhood, which is where the National Men's March to Abolish Abortion concluded outside of the hotel here. I want to ask you, what drew you to come join us yesterday? And what do you think we can do to help more bishops to come and join us in our efforts going forward?
Well, Jim, as I tell people when it's about the sanctity of life, I just pretty much say yes, if I possibly can, because I really believe it is a fundamental and foundational issue for humanity, for this nation, really for the world at this point. And we don't seem to be making the greatest progress, but we have to trust in the Lord and just continue to proclaim the sanctity of life. And as far as the other bishops, I know that, the schedules here are exhausting, and I can understand why they're caught up in many things. But I just encourage you, persevere and keep asking, inviting, and maybe looking for the ways to get through some of the logistics of the schedule.
All right, thank you for that. Archbishop Lori was just speaking about radical solidarity with mothers and their preborn children. I heard him speak a lot about the solidarity with the mothers, which is great, but not a lot about the solidarity with the children, with the preborn children. What does it mean to you to be in radical solidarity with our little brothers and sisters who are being dehumanized and murdered by the thousands every day?
Well, I think we really have to focus on that, because it's just so patently clear to me, and I think it is to all of us, but it's not acknowledged in our society. They are the weakest, the most vulnerable, and they're literally being ripped limb from limb, even as we speak. And people promoting that with vehemence is just something we've got to speak for, the voices that are literally ripped away from them. They have lungs, they have voices, and they're torn apart before they can learn to speak a word. So we have a real obligation to them. I certainly share the need to be in solidarity with the mothers and the fathers. I think that needs to be emphasized, because men are left out of the picture, but that child isn't conceived without a man involved. And I think they need to be, sometimes they're hurting, sometimes they're just callous and ignoring this situation, but it's their child that's being ripped apart as well. So it's the man, the woman, and the child.
Yeah, thank you. As far as proclaiming the moral truth and the reality of what's going on and what ought to be done, especially when we start to think about public policy, the U.S. Constitution says that all people have a right to life. The Catechism of the Catholic Church says that all preborn children are people. Shouldn't we all be calling for government leaders to affirm the constitutional personhood of the preborn?
Absolutely. And I think we've got to keep working in that direction. The leadership of this administration, from the president down, is ignoring all of that and really vehemently working for the right to murder others. That's what it comes down to. And I find it frustrating, I know a lot of people do, that we're facing so much violence, we're so much lack of respect for humanity, from the whole spectrum, conception to natural death, or the end of life. There are more and more threats of euthanasia, assisted suicide, and really encouraging people, if you're in pain, just kill yourself. And that is a denial of the sanctity of life at the other end of the spectrum. I think we just have to continue to be joyful and strong and know that life is the most precious gift that God gives us. Human life is created in the image and likeness of God. So we just have to continue to advocate for life and use the best skills that we have to do a better job, and to speak to leaders that call themselves Catholic, and they're part of the slaughter. and they're promoting this longer. I think we have to be very conscious of how devastating that really is.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I heard also Archbishop Lori speaking about making abortion unthinkable. I use that terminology as well, but I always say that's the ultimate goal, and I think of it in terms of ending abortion as to make it illegal and unthinkable. It seems like that's the trajectory, at least that's what it was with slavery. It became illegal, and then now it's unthinkable, of course. But I didn't hear him speak the word illegal. Isn't that the public policy position, again, that we ought to have, that we ought to be hearing from our U.S. bishops, that this ought to be illegal? Abortion ought to be illegal, a full ban, no exceptions.
Well, I fully agree. I think that ultimately it's about changing hearts to the truth. But murder is illegal. Abortion is murder. And it's murder of the most innocent, the most defenseless in society. There are many ways that defenseless people are being harmed in the world today and in our nation. But the child in the womb is the most defenseless. It is murder, and it needs to be illegal. It needs to be incorporated into the illegality of taking anyone's life.
Yeah, and finally, also in his remarks, Archbishop Lori was speaking about, quote, angry demonstrators with narrow partisan interests, end of quote. He didn't specify what he meant by it, but wouldn't radical solidarity with mothers and their preborn children make one appear to have narrow partisan interests in this time that we're in, when we've got one party, the Democrat Party, that is full on...
If you're new, consider subscribing, liking, and also share this video. Now, in the latest news coming from the Catholic community, Bishop Joseph Strickland, actually one of the prominent bishops in the US and the biggest critic of the Pope, that is Pope Francis. According to the reports, it's believed that he has been sacked and relieved of his duties by the Pope. This comes as a result of Bishop Joseph Strickland actually becoming so critical on the Pope. You know, he's the conservative one, and his breed, for me, it's a rare breed. Why? I'll tell you. This is a bishop, one who is actually advocating for conservatism, the real principles of the Bible. He's one person who has advocated for fertility. That is, he's pro-fertility, he's pro-women and men starting families, getting babies, continuing with a nuclear family and stuff like that. So he has been so much critical on the Pope, you know, because we all know the Pope is now so lenient. He's the Pope is so lenient. He's adopting this gospel of inclusiveness. You know, I will not mention that DAY word. You know, he's into that stuff. So, which is against the principles of the Bible. Recently, there was an issue still within the Pentecostals and, you know, the born agains with regards to Bishop Pearson. Yeah. Very many people were critical of him still because of that gospel of inclusiveness, including so many groups of people. These are principles which are against the Bible, guys. For anyone to come out and say men and men should marry each other, it's really a sin. And I don't see the reason why the Pope is now coming out to attack Bishop Joseph Strickland. Come on, guys. This is a man who is sticking to what the Bible teaches us. These principles have been there for thousands and thousands of years. Men marrying women, men and women starting families, men and women making babies, continuing with the nuclear family, being against abortion and stuff like that. But now the Pope respectfully has relieved and sacked Bishop Strickland. He has come out, of course, to react on this whole this whole thing with a couple of tweets. In one tweet, he said, "Let me be clear. I'm a Catholic bishop. I support Pope Francis as a vicar of Christ. As a bishop, it's my duty to speak up when I see the sanctity of the life of the unborn being threatened. I will continue to speak up when I see the deposit of faith being undermined." Then in another tweet he said, "I pray that this effort is prayerful, respectfully and focused on Jesus. He is the only support I need and I feel the profound embrace of his sacred heart. I appreciate the vigorous faith this is inspired by. But please remember, I'm nothing. Jesus is everything. Viva Cristo Rey." So he was reacting to a certain group of people who actually came out to organize an event in support of him. Then in another tweet he said, I quoted the Bible, Timothy 2:11-13, "Jesus, if we have died with him, we shall also live with him. If we hold out to the end, we shall also reign with him. But if we deny him, he will deny us. If we are unfaithful, he will still remain faithful. He cannot deny himself." For me, I have a very big respect for Bishop Joseph Strickland, of what he's standing for. Guys, after 50-100 years, so many people will appreciate the works of Bishop Strickland. Right now, people are against him. People are attacking him, most especially those who are pro-gospel of inclusiveness. They are attacking him, but you'll appreciate what he's advocating for. There is no need of taking out unborn babies. Come on. These are principles the Bible is against too. I hope this is resolved, and I'm very sure Bishop Joseph Strickland